Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So I'm here in Hanover, Pennsylvania. It's November, and today's actually the 21st. But I think around the 18th of November in 1863, Abraham Lincoln stopped briefly while passing through Hanover on his way to Gettysburg to deliver the Gettysburg Address. He stopped briefly to just talk to the townspeople and stuff. And Hanover, while it's not famous for being a part of a battle, if you're familiar with the Gettysburg campaign, you know that there were a lot of rear guard actions during that campaign. Stuart's cavalry actually got hung up in Hanover, and this whole area, so Hanover's in York County, Pennsylvania, but this whole area was overrun by the Army of Northern Virginia until the Yankees got up here around June 30th. And so York County, Adams County, which is where Gettysburg is located, Gettysburg's the county seat in Adams County, Franklin County, Cumberland County, were all had presence of Confederate troops in this second invasion that Lee undertook to come up here. So anyway, a little bit of local history, and I'm in Hanover. I got my physical today, and didn't take too long. I just went in there and lied and told them I was in perfect health, and they're like, "Oh, okay." YouTube sensation. Why wouldn't you be? So there you go. Got my 2-year card, and so pretty easy. Anyway, I had 1,740 subscribers earlier today, but somebody quit, and you all know what quitters do. They quit. So now I have 1,739, but that's okay, because something happened in 1739 that was the start of a catastrophe. And around December 30th of 1739, the island of Ireland was experiencing unseasonably cold temperatures, and that was the start of a famine, not to be confused with the famine in the 1840s. So this is 1739 into 1740 and actually into 1741. But there were several events. One was unseasonable, really cold weather. That was kind of the last big freezing event of what is commonly referred to as the Little Ice Age. And back then, the Irish diet, unlike it was maybe like 100 years later, was not primarily potatoes. Potatoes were certainly part of it, but oats and other grains were really a bigger part of the Irish diet. And because of the unseasonably cold temperatures and then unusually dry weather, because if you know anything about the British Isles, you know it rains fairly frequently there, combined to really put a hurt on food supplies. And it's estimated that between 13 and 20% of the Irish population died from late 1739 through 1741. So we're talking somewhere between 300 and 480,000 people. So it was pretty, it was a pretty big event, obviously. And famines were not uncommon, and until agricultural methods improved and stuff, it was it was just kind of a thing that happened. The other thing that's interesting to me is that I feel like with climate change, especially in a lot of you look at the impact. Now this isn't climate change, this is war, but you look at the impact that the war that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused, because Ukraine can't export its grain. There's been some easing for that, but it's kind of interesting. And I don't think it's out of the question that we could experience massive crop failures because of changing climate. Although I also think that there are going to be opportunities to grow crops that we heretofore haven't in places, that are different than where we grow them, where we've grown them for the past 100 years. So maybe there's opportunity. At the same time, there's concern. So what I wanted to talk about today is kind of big picture, a little bit esoteric, but I've been thinking about this, and I want to tell you about an incident that happened. It's been a while since it happened, but I was picking up at a shipper, and this is when I had my trainee on the truck, my last trainee, and I was picking up at a shipper, and it was supposed to be a drop and hook. And I'm going to tell this story to illustrate a point, and we'll talk about that point in a second. But it was supposed to be a drop and hook. I go there, and I actually showed up a little bit late. But usually on a drop and hook, it's not a big deal, right? Because the trailer's supposed to be loaded. You just grab it and go. And so I show up, and I think I actually bobtailed there for some reason. Like I couldn't get an empty trailer. But so I bobtailed there. Again, wasn't a problem. This place always has plenty of prime trailers. So I go there, and I go into shipping, and they're like, "Oh, that trailer's not ready yet." I'm like, "Well, when's it going to be ready?" And they're like, "Well, we haven't started loading it. But hey, would you mind getting an empty trailer and putting it in, like door 13 or whatever?" And I'm like, I wasn't happy because right after that, we already had a pre-plan to pick up a high val load, and the place this load was going to was not even 100 miles away. But this receiver is this massive grocery company distribution center in Pennsylvania that I hate going to because it's a pain in the butt. And the funny thing is, I haven't been there to deliver since I've been at Prime, but I used to go there when I was at night, and I also went there when I was at J&R Schugel with both times with dry loads. But I just loathe this place. And so anyway, I go there. Sorry about the reflection. I go there, and I'm like, they're like, "Yeah, it's not ready. Can you?" Even though there are jockeys sitting around, can you put a trailer in the door? So like, I don't know, if I hadn't shown up for 2 more hours, I got a feeling that they wouldn't have started it even then. So I put this trailer in the door, and this is a place that has the big, like pipe rail where you cannot possibly get, off center backing into the dock. It has these yellow rails that sit, like when your trailer tires go in there, there's no room for them to be like out of alignment in terms of getting you to the pads in the dock, right? So anyway, I back the trailer in there, and I just wait, and I wait, and I wait. So then finally this guy comes out, and, I'm like, I open my door, and I'm like, I said, "Hey, do you have the paperwork?" He's like, or no, I didn't say anything. I just opened my door, and he's like, "You can go now." And, I really kind of took exception to that because my interpretation of it was like I was the one holding things up. And I'm like, "Well, do you have my paperwork?" He's like, "No, it's in the office." So my trainee said later, and this will be important, that it was kind of like the guy was like, "Get the fuck out of here." So I go in the office, and I'm pretty angry with just the guy's tone. And I know that, I should just like let it slide, right? Because truck drivers, we're supposed to let a lot of stuff slide. So, but I said something to the guys in the shipping office. I'm like, I said, it's bad enough that I come here for a drop and hook and it's like 4 hours after I got here. And then the guy that comes out to, tell me I'm done is basically like, I'm the one that's messed up. And so the guys at the shipping office are like nodding. But the guy that told me that at the dock is in the background. But I'm not hiding anything. I'm not like, I'll say stuff to people's face. I don't really care. So he comes out of the office, right? Because this is just a window. He comes out and he comes straight for me. And then he puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, hey, if I'd have known you had a problem, I would have taken like 6 hours. And I was like, get the fuck away from me. Don't touch me, And so at that point, I was so angry that I just looked at the guys in the shipping office. I'm like, hey, you're going to need somebody else to take this trailer because I'm dropping it right where it is. And I went out to my truck, dropped the landing gear, unhooked the lines, pulled the fifth wheel release, and I left. And I filed an assault report with the local police department in Howard County, Maryland. And I reached out to dispatch and told them what happened. Well then, and this is where this story's going. So my fleet manager wasn't in that day. Somebody was kind of pinch hitting for him. But then he sends me a message. He's like, call me. So I call him. And the upshot of this conversation was that I shouldn't have acted the way I did. And that, I just need to tell Prime when somebody is an asshole to me. And, and let Prime take care of it because it doesn't really matter because we'll get detention and stuff. And, and then this is the other interesting thing. Then, this shipper said that I damaged their loading dock, But here's the thing. When I backed in and opened up my doors, I noticed there was concrete damage underneath the dock plate, where the dock plate comes down. But the problem with their theory that I damaged it is that, first of all, it was lower than what the trailer, like the corner of the trailer could hit. But also because of those rails that channel you right to the dock, there's no way that I could get like the corner of the trailer to smash into the building without, I could slam into the building, but it would be both sides simultaneously. The trailer would have to be exactly perpendicular to the building because of those rails. And there's a construction company that had all sorts of equipment and forklifts and stuff, and I think they were trying to actually load something through that door and hit it. But, it just kind of really drove the point home to me that, no company, none of these trucking companies care about their drivers. Their drivers are where they make all the money, but they just don't care about you. They say they do. Maybe they give you some, they give you some extra pay here and there, but they really don't care that much. They certainly never, ever stick up for you. I've heard of, all sorts of things where drivers were treated like crap, treated with incredible disrespect. And they're like, oh, well, it's okay because, they're our customers. And I'm like, no, it's not. I don't, if you got to lose an account because, if in order for you to keep an account with some shipper, I have to get assaulted, I have to have some scuzzbag putting his hands on me, If that's what it takes for you to keep that business, I don't really care if you keep that business. And if it's that big of a deal, then maybe I'm at the wrong place. And you know, here's the thing. I don't think the grass is greener elsewhere. I will tell you that one time I was getting a ration of shit from some people at Domino Sugar in Baltimore when I was at night. And, you know, I practice law in Baltimore, right? Like, homie, don't play that, you know? Like, these people that think they're, like, some badasses in the city or whatever, I'm like, whatever. You know, I used to have an office like 2 miles from here on Charles Street. You're not scaring me. And they actually, and so every time that they were a jerk to me, I was a jerk back. Well, then they told me I had to leave, and my terminal manager was like, I told him what happened. I said, yeah, this is what they said. This is what I said. And my terminal manager was finally like, because they tried to make a different appointment because they kicked me off the property. And my terminal manager, after the second try, he's like, fuck them, just come on home, because I was getting ready to go on home time. And guess what? My terminal manager actually gave me money. I didn't ask for it because I was kind of like, I might be in trouble. And I was kind of new in the industry. And my terminal manager actually gave me like $300 for the brain damage of going to this place, you know? But that's like one of the few times where I really felt like somebody at my company was like, had my back, you know? And, you know, I understand that I could have handled things differently at this other shipper, but, you know, the whole conversation with my fleet manager is like, oh, you handled that wrong. And it's like, yeah, but isn't there any balance here? Like, when something goes sideways, it's always the driver's fault. And, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, you'll get detention and stuff. I'm not, you know, my job title is not detention payee. You know, I don't want detention. Now, I know I'm going to get it. I know stuff's not going to roll on time, and I get that. But when you show up for a drop and hook, and then it takes 4 hours, and they act like you're the problem, I'm sorry, you know, maybe I'm just an angry old white guy that's 60 years old, but I'm just like, you know, I'm down with just, because a lot of times one of the phrases I use almost every day is take your time. I say that to people and I mean it. But those are people who say, oh, hey, you know, we're running late, or can you give me a minute, or I just got to get through this. And I always say that. I say, oh, take your time. I'm not in a hurry. And it's true, I'm not in a hurry. But at the same time, I at least want somebody to acknowledge that I'm not the problem. Like, I showed up and I'm ready to work, and I'm not the cause of this delay. And so, you know, I see these signs every single day on the back of trucks. Oh, well, you know, we treat you like family. We take care of you. You're respected. And I'm just like, no, that's just a lie. Like, why even say it when it's not true? And in this particular environment, you know, it's like the people that got ripped off by, you know, that were hauling onions from that place in Washington that I talked about a few weeks ago. I mean, like a huge number of drivers got screwed out of money, and they just took it in they had to take it in the shorts, and some people quit over that. I mean, I've had, you know, people say that, and it's like, I get that, you know, you don't want to, like, you know, throw people, you know, tell shippers you don't want their business. But really, I mean, you know, why is it that the shipper makes an enormous mistake and the only people that get screwed are the drivers? Because here's the thing, you know, we provide a quality product, I think, you know, compared to some companies. I mean, I hear about companies all the time that are just like effed up. They're getting shut down by the FMCSA. I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal about contractors for Amazon that are, because Wall Street Journal did a big investigation, they're 70 times more likely to get shut down for put out of service, like the people hauling Amazon trailers, than like a UPS driver is. 70 times more likely to get shut down, get put out of service. I mean, that's our competition. Like, why is it that no one wants to use at least a little bit of leverage to say, hey, you shouldn't be treating our drivers like crap? You know, so, I mean, I have my choice, right? I'm not going to go back to that shipper. I mean, I actually liked hauling stuff out of there, but stuff never went right. Like, it was never the way it was supposed to be. But, yeah, I'm just like, no. You know, I doubt whether, you know, maybe if there's absolutely nothing for me to haul when I come off home times one time, because, you know, this place is near my home, I might take a load out of there. But I just don't think so. And, you know, because I know that my company is not going to have my back. And that's a crappy feeling, you know. And I'll never forget when my terminal manager was just, you know, at the Domino Sugar thing, was just like, F them, and still paid me, right? That guy was a stand-up guy. And, and I appreciate that. So, you know, this is a semi-rant, but it's also just, you know, I'm just trying to, like, open everybody's eyes. Don't, you know, even if you're fleet, and don't get me wrong, I have a good fleet manager, right? But he's only as good as the company, right? And the company's not going to back up a driver. They're just not. And you're always on your own. And it's not a great feeling. And we're going to be out here over the holidays making money for people, making sure that Americans get fed or clothed or housed or whatever it is that they need over the holidays. And we're not going to be appreciated. But, you know, it doesn't bother me that the general public doesn't appreciate me, and it doesn't bother me that a shipper or receiver doesn't, because those people don't really, in the grand scheme of things, matter to me. But what does bother me is that my own company doesn't really have my back or, you know, appreciate me. I mean, you know, maybe they'll give me some Christmas bonus like they did last year, and that, you know, it'll be nice. But but that amount of money is not going to make up for the fact that I know that I'm always going to be the one that's wrong. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate everybody. And if I don't talk to you, I am actually going to do a video for I'm going to try to do a video for teenagers, almost like a public service video, and I'll throw that up. You'll know it by the title, because the title is going to be something like "Help Me Not Kill You." So if you want to gloss over that, you can, or if you want to show it to your kids, or you know, a driver ed teacher or something like that, show it to them, because I really, you know, I had that critical in Chicago recently, and I had a gal, I don't know how old she was, you know, maybe 20, college age, you know, she cut me off the other day near Boston, and I was just like, sweetie, you know, your parents don't want you getting killed the week before Thanksgiving. The holidays will suck if you do that, and I'm doing everything I can not to kill you. So anyway, that's coming up, but if you're a truck driver, you probably don't need to watch that. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye.